I wasn't afraid at the time, because I didn't think there was anything to be afraid of. These 5 gang members were running towards me. I just parked my car. The emergency brake slipped and it rolled into the car in front of me. There was no damage. We're talking like 6 inches. These 5 gang members started attacking me. One of them was yelling, "You hit my homeboy's car." I said, "There's no damage." They started fighting. I fought back. One of them took my shirt and put it over my head trying to lock me up. And I took off the shirt and kept fighting. At the time, I thought I was immortal. Looking back on it, there was more confusion. There were 50 of my high school classmates, my friends, standing around. I thought for sure somebody would help me. Nobody did. Looking at their faces, they had these blank looks. Their eyes were wide. These 50 people were afraid of these 5 guys. Nobody wanted to be the first one to lead the safety of the group, so nobody did. Just then, one of the gang members pulled out an aluminum baseball bat and smashed all of the windows of my brand new car. I was 17 years old, and I was hit 17 times in the back with an aluminum baseball bat. There was the physical pain. There was betrayal, there was abandonment, there was rejection. My friends today don't know this story about me. If you were there, if you're one of the 50 people, or if you were the person being attacked, would you talk about this story with people? I don't tell people about it because it's usually received with pity, and the looks on their faces make me relive the moment, and it makes it harder for me to move on. But they're missing the point. The point is, there is life beyond the pain. You can deal with what life throws at you. There is indeed hope. What I'm going to talk to you about is the power of finding purpose through challenge. Sometimes life throws challenges at you, and sometimes you can throw challenges back at life. The first step in recovery was dealing with the fear. For a while, I thought these gang members would come and attack me at home or at school. I pursued them in court. It was the right thing to do, pressing charges. Some of them spent time behind bars. There was still the constant and severe back pain. There was the fear of crowds, the difficulty forming relationships with people. Anxiety developed. There was inability to trust people. Life wasn't making sense, so it made sense to leave. In this case, this meant going to college out of state, where nobody knew what happened to me. Nobody knew the story. I was starting to trust again. I made a small group of friends. For years after the attack, there were vivid dreams and nightmares. Some of these dreams were terrifying. One of them said, "Go to Israel." Life wasn't making sense. It made sense to go. For 9 months, I was working on a small dairy farm and traveling on the weekends. It may sound funny, but being around dairy cows at 3 in the morning and hearing the mooing has a very calming effect. Some of the people had just gotten back from backpacking in India. They described it as a place of magical discovery. They were teaching different types of deep breathing, meditation, mindfulness. A few years later, there was another dream. This one said, "Go to India." Life wasn't making sense. It made sense to go. For 10 months, I was backpacking around, going to ashrams and monasteries, learning about meditation, yoga, and mindfulness. For one of these retreats, you weren't allowed to speak for 6 weeks. For people who know me, they would consider that an impossibility. There were meditations for everything: opening, closing a window, the sun rising and setting. There was even a meditation for flushing a toilet. If you're going to take one thing away from this talk, it's this: there are no quick fixes. The idea is to create mindfulness for your whole life. Appreciate the beauty and joy in everything. So when things get harder, you have the tools to deal with it. One of the more remarkable meditations, which I'll describe in a second, that actually helped me years later was this. Envision there's water. At the top of the water, there's suffering. This suffering could be pain, it could be anxiety, it could be problems with a boyfriend or girlfriend. You take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. You keep doing this till you're at the bottom of the ocean. The suffering is still there, but it's far removed, and you can actually deal with it. This present moment is a wonderful moment. I found how to find my center. When I talk about finding my center, you know what that means. It's kind of like this. As a veterinarian, I do surgeries. Sometimes things don't go as planned. You have your surgical field there, maybe an organ pops in and obscures your view, or maybe there's a blood vessel shooting blood all over the place. This is a perfect opportunity for a veterinarian to feel anxiety. You take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Deep breathing actually has a scientific basis as well. In 2012 in Japan, a study was performed by Yahama showing that deep breathing can decrease tension and anxiety. In 2020, Jafari, in Europe, there was a study performed showing that slow-paced deep breathing can actually decrease pain in certain circumstances. So you're this veterinarian, you're feeling the anxiety. Deep breath in and a slow breath out. Clear your mind. Accept what's going on. Let it pass through you. Let it go away. This present moment is a wonderful moment. You found your center. With a love of travel, a natural next step was to go to veterinary college out of the country. So I went to school in Ireland. It was also a childhood dream of mine. There was still the test anxiety. Using the tools learned in India, I repeated the test environment over and over and over again until the test environment was a constant, more so than with the anxiety. I became a veterinarian. I lived and worked in Ireland for 9 years. Working on the small dairy farms there, with the lush green pastures of the Irish countryside, is very common. I started to trust again. I met my wife there. This present moment is a wonderful moment. I found my center. The recession hit. We moved back to America. Life doesn't seem to make sense sometimes. One morning, I woke up in bed, and I couldn't see out of one of my eyes. At the ophthalmologist, he looked at my eye and said, "Well, that's not good." He called over 2 other specialists who both agreed that's not good. After a bunch of diagnostic tests, and a lot of time, I was diagnosed with eye cancer. Next, there's a catheter in my arm delivering chemotherapeutic drugs. At the 5-hour point, it feels like there's a combination of death and ashes in your veins. You can't get out of bed for a week. Sometimes you can't eat anything for 2 weeks. This was a lot to handle. I didn't know if I would survive. All I could think about was the disease. I had lost my center. There were some successes in finding my center, though. Using the tools learned in India, one of the treatments involved having the doctor put a needle in my eye once a week for an injection. Imagine you're sitting there in the patient's chair. You see the needle coming towards your eye. Your goal is to keep your eye still, but your eye has other things in mind. It's darting around, trying to avoid the needle. Visualize water. Your eye, which is about to get the injections at the top of the water, a deep breath in, and a slow breath out, so you're at the bottom of the water. The needle goes into the eye. Yes, it is horrifyingly painful, but you get through the treatment. To get through the different treatments, I created what I call a microcosm of comfort. This is something that helps you find your center. For me, I created challenges that helped get me through all the treatments and continue for the rest of my life, recognizing the beauty in life and the joy, so I had a way of getting through things later in life. For 2 years, I didn't have vision in that eye. After seeing 40 doctors, getting radiation therapy, chemotherapy, and 10 eye surgeries, I got better. The vision returned. Now there was this urgency, this joyful urgency, telling me that I had to continue these challenges. The main challenge, finding mindfulness for the rest of my life. The first challenge was to grow an amazing mustache that makes me look like a movie villain. It's easy to do, not everybody can do it, but I haven't actually shaved my mustache since the diagnosis with cancer, so for me, it has a lot of meaning. It's a constant reminder that I am indeed still alive. The second challenge was to have a garden. I'm sure many of you have gardens in your houses. In this case, this means you can create an area full of life, things that you plant, vegetables, fruits, flowers, an area where you can go to do deep breathing. You can do meditation, you can find your center there. In my case, I have to wear a bee outfit because I do have bees pollinating my garden. Which brings us to my final challenge. Beekeeping. About 5 years ago, around the time that I was diagnosed with cancer, there was a desire to become a beekeeper. Bees have this swarm intelligence. Once a week, during your inspections, one of the goals is to find the queen. You take the first frame, and there's some buzzing. You get to the next frame, and the buzzing becomes more frenetic. The bees are telling you where the queen is. In this moment, you're part of a community of different species. For me, the buzzing resonates with my center. When there's buzzing, there's no cancer treatment, there's no problems, just the buzzing. This present moment is a wonderful moment. I found a way to keep on finding my center. We all feel ganged up on in life. Life doesn't make sense. These two events happened to me to make me realize that I needed a way to get to my calm place, what I call my center. When this stopped working, I evolved. It's easier to do than you think. You don't have to go to Israel, India, or Ireland to find your center. For me, these were essential steps. It doesn't even have to be expensive. You can go backpacking to places where your dollar kind of stretches further. Everybody can deep breathe, but deep breathing doesn't work for everybody. Maybe for you, finding your center is listening to a favorite song, hiking or golfing. Breathe, find your center. There's also plenty of online resources where you can find a community to help you find your center through meditation or yoga. Sometimes it helps to use a verse to help you concentrate on finding your center. In this case, there's one by the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. Please join me, breathing in for the first verse and out for the second verse, and so on. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. I want to thank everybody here for making this present moment a wonderful moment.